My name, as Elvin said, is Laura Basini. I am a long-term trainee in the NorCal program this year. Before I begin my talk, I would like to give the LEN disclaimer that in the following talk, all opinions and conclusions are solely my own and not necessarily policy or positions of the funding agencies HHS or HRSA. I would also like to note that during this talk, I will be using identity-first language as a reflection of the majority usage by the students with whom I work. So I come to this topic as a humanities professor. I have taught at a variety of higher education institutions in our region over the last 20 years. And as I have worked with autistic students, I have come to realize that just as every college can be different, so the supports and services available to autistic students at each college is also very different. So that is to say, there is no standard set of accommodations or supports for autistic students across the board or mandated by law. And this can be problematic for students thinking about college because information on services is often difficult to find, and comparing services across a large number of colleges is time-consuming and labyrinthine. And I see this potentially as part of a broader access problem for autistic students, because while over 50% of autistic students have average or above average intelligence, their rates of participation in college is much lower, running at about 12% for a four-year college, 28% for a two-year college, and completion rates running at around 40% of those attending students. And this information comes from the seminal 2011 National Longitudinal Transition Study funded by the Department of Education, and from Paul Shattuck's subsequent analysis of the provided information on specifically autistic youth. So my governing questions in my work this year have been, what are the barriers to access for students on the spectrum, and what supports and programs are available in our region? The ultimate goal being to produce a resource for students and families that will help them navigate information about options for college. Today, I will take you through the research on both these questions before outlining the features of the resource that I have devised for dissemination in our region. So to find answers to my questions, I turn to the research, which, as you can see from this chart of articles published over the last 30 years, has witnessed a sharp uptick in interest in higher education issues, especially in the last decade. Research so far has relied on small study sets, mixed methods, and a lot of it has actually been done in Europe. As Lynn Clowder et al. Have outlined in their recent article on neurodiversity in higher education, most research has focused on three kinds of investigations, those being the experiences of small groups of individuals in college, practices at specific institutions, and the efficacy of specific teaching strategies. In this research, we clearly find outlined the main barriers to successfully completing college as an autistic student. The first set of barriers, we could say, comes under the banner of daily living skills and communication, much of which was overseen during K-12 by the student's family and school, but which now relies on the student's own ability to initiate action and discussion. And it's worth noting that parents can no longer legally do many of the tasks in these domains at college age. The second group of challenges is more systemic. Many autistic students are dealing with complex mental health challenges that colleges are not set up to adequately support. Students have to navigate constantly changing schedules on a quarterly, semesterly, daily basis. And there are frequently issues with timely and prompt access to accommodations. Finally, in more personal terms, research shows that autistic students overwhelmingly feel a sense of social difference from their neurotypical peers, with social isolation and burnout often resulting from a lack of a peer group and a large number of sensory issues. So out of all these issues, we can pull some conclusions that are most relevant to students and families thinking about college. First, executive functioning and mental health problems are greater barriers to college success than are academic issues. To put this another way, executive functioning predicts completion. And this may also explain why rates of completion for autistic students are lower than those for students with only a learning disability or only a speech language issue. Secondly, peer groups, mentoring, and formal autism programs are very effective with positive impacts on well-being and graduation rates. And we see this in the data collected by institutions who have autism programs and have tracked success. For example, Bellevue Community College in Washington State has an 85% class completion rate from participants in its Neurodiversity Navigators program. And St. Joseph's University Aspire program in Philadelphia has an 82% graduation rate and an 86% employment rate 6 months after college. Last but not least, there appears to be a 2-year danger period after high school when most autistic students are not participating in education. That is to say, the 35% of autistic students who participate in college in some form overwhelmingly do so after their first 2 years out of high school. This may be to do with lack of knowledge of college entrance requirements, which are rarely part of IEP discussions, or perhaps the need for more time to develop executive functioning skills. This is an area that needs more research, but the actionable point for now is that transition and college readiness planning is critical. So in my resource, I've prioritized these 3 areas: providing knowledge of the difference in systems between K-12 and higher education and the need for transition support, increasing awareness of the need for executive functioning and mental health support, and that this should be something that autistic students should be looking for when applying for college. And lastly, I wanted to provide information on special programs for autistic students in our region. So my first resource, as you can see here, is a trifold, which provides information in summary so that it can be easily disseminated throughout schools, counselors' offices, regional centers, and community organizations. As you can see, it is double-sided, with the blue side being the exterior and the white being the interior. It outlines the systemic differences between college and high school, gives examples of kinds of supports available in the classroom and in college life on campus, and provides a list of questions to ask disabilities counselors prior to applying or attending. Very importantly, it publicizes the autism-specific college programs we have here in Northern California. 2 of these, the Cal State East Bay College Link program and the UC Berkeley Spectrum Scholars, support academic degree-seeking students. And 2 of them, the Fresno State Wayfinders and the UC Davis Redwood Seed Scholars, support students with intellectual disabilities and are more focused on employment skills. All 4 programs offer high-touch services in the areas of counseling, tutoring, and mentoring, with college success and job readiness classes, group meals, group study sessions, social outings, and adaptive training and life skills. And there is a wide range of fees associated with supports in each kind of institutions. So it is really important to make families aware of the wide range of options that are available. The second resource I've produced is a PDF that provides more extended information on these topics. As you can see, the main sections are similar to the trifold, with an added segment on more personal things to think about, such as mental health care, living preferences, specific accommodations, and so on. The most significant difference between the PDF and the trifold is the detailed information that I've wanted to provide on each college in our area. There are 74 colleges in our region. So those I have divided into the sections of the California State Universities, the community colleges, the University of California campuses, and the private colleges. As you can see from this sample page, for each college, I include contact information, an outline of services currently provided, and additional information on any campus offerings that would be relevant or helpful to students with autism. This resource will be made freely available through community and educational organizations, the Family Navigator and social skills groups here at the Mind, and hopefully also on the Mind website.
Someone asked, are considerations for financial aid, grants, etc., here specifically for ASD students included?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there are increasingly sources for funding, particularly for autistic students. So I'll be sure to include some of those in the resources. That's a great point.
And Sally would love that the copy of that wonderful resource too.
Hi, Laura, that was great. Thank you. That was wonderful. Sorry if I cut out. I'm just thinking, Abin, I wonder if this could be helpful for transition to adulthood clinic as a resource, especially if you're passing it off for the Family Navigator team, that would be great. But it seems like it could be a helpful resource for that particular clinic too. So we'll have to keep this in mind.
I think there are so many things it's going to be a great resource for. And I know one of the things Laura's been thinking about is where we can house it and how we can update it. And Laura, you should check out the chat. People are saying very nice things. It's amazing. And I know it was a lot of work this year. If there was one thing you could say that would be kind of the most impactful thing colleges could do to support autistic students, what would that be?
I think create a space where autistic students can gather. This is one thing that seems maybe a little counterintuitive. We are always striving for inclusion, and colleges are working really hard for inclusion. But what we hear also from autistic students is that they really value learning from each other's experiences. So I think both of those things go together, gathering in order to have a path and a strong basis for inclusion.
Seems like you stressed a couple of programs that were very successful. Were those programs, did those have the elements that you just mentioned? Or did they
Yes, they all are really founded in those three sections those 3 points that came up through the research. And they are very, very successful programs. I mean, they have a far greater success rate than neurotypical students figures for graduation. So they are really outpacing even regular, what we would think of as like standard graduation rates. And there are many ways for autistic students to attain success in college. I don't think that attending a formal autism program is by means the only one. But it certainly is a way that colleges are addressing this need to cross different systems within the colleges, which is really hard for a student to do on their own. So that is definitely something that is beneficial.
The UC Davis Mind Institute was founded in 1998 with a promise to reduce and prevent the disabilities that can be associated with autism and other neurodevelopmental conditions. Every day, our clinicians and researchers make progress on that promise. Our groundbreaking research on autism, Fragile X syndrome, chromosome 22q11.2 deletion syndrome, ADHD, and other conditions associated with disability are helping affected individuals achieve their fullest potential. Please visit our website or our social media platforms to find out more about current studies, upcoming events, and how you can help make a difference.